Hey guys, thanks for joining NFT Hype. I know you're in the middle of a Bitcoin Origins drop, but I know, thanks for taking the time to come on. Michael Yeates from Alien Worlds. How you doing, buddy?
Hello. Good, very good. Just taking part in the Bitcoin Origins.
What's your favorite part of Bitcoin Origins?
I think the artwork's really good. I like the artwork. And I don't know that by pricing it so high, they've kind of added this like extra cachet that the other sales don't necessarily have. So
The
I
Prada
thought,
of NFTs.
yeah, and the fact that you have to be really quick, I kind of like that. I don't know, there's a competition, any kind of competition, you get that little adrenaline buzz, don't you? So even if
Yeah,
you
for
don't want
sure.
it, as long as you win something, then you're happy. So
Oh, cool. Well, yeah, we can talk about that, but we actually, Michael, I asked Mike to let's have a call on this because I think a lot of people are sort of curious about Alien Worlds. I know your users have been growing, which is
yeah.
awesome. Your community's been growing. But maybe we just need to take some time to talk about, like, explain some of the things that are going on. Like, can you in general just talk about what it is and
Like what the hell just happened, you mean? Sort of.
yeah, what the hell? And what are all these planets and where are they and yeah, stuff, basic 101 stuff.
Yeah, so 101 is we have 6 planets. Each planet is going to be a DAO. So each planet is going to be elected and run by people from the community who stand for election. And each planet will receive, there's a federation as well, who is basically us who made the game. And each day the planets receive a certain amount of Trillium based on how much is staked to them. And then obviously they have to decide how to distribute that Trillium. So to begin with, we've got a mining game, which will just, you come along, you equip your tools, your NFT tools, and then you mine. So that's distributing the Trillium amongst everybody. But eventually the plan is that we will have these elected councils who will then decide how to distribute the Trillium, and hopefully they're going to come up with some imaginative ways to do that, and they're going to start thinking about, they can either just like give it straight back, or they can kind of go out and spend it and try to create more value, or they can anything they like, really, they can do. So it's a very open-ended game. It's very not set in stone as to what happens, but we do have some kind of reference applications which we put in to begin with, which is the mining game, and then later on the Thunderdome game, which is coming soon.
Oh, you just gave me an idea to complete my Cavian loop, so thank you very much for that.
Well, yeah, Mike here is one of the Cavian cabal, aren't you? So I'm not sure how much.
I'm not sure if I should confirm or deny that statement.
Yeah, they don't like to speak to the Federation very much.
Yeah, they're coming for the
I mean,
Federation,
it's all
seems.
good. There's actually like, I think there's like, we'd say there's about 4 main groups now who are kind of vying for different planets, and they've all decided to play nice and take a planet each, but there's still competition for how much Trillium is staked to each planet. And obviously Cavian, up until yesterday, Cavian were like the clear winners because they were the first ones. They have some big landowners who are part of this cabal, and they have a lot of Trillium behind them, obviously. So, but then
How
there's
does that
these
help
little
them?
huh?
How does that help them?
Well, it helps them because they stake more to the planet, which means that the planet then receives more Trillium in their daily allocation.
Okay, gotcha.
So the more you have staked, the more you receive. So the bigger planet you are, the bigger income you receive every day.
And the higher your fill rate is, right?
Yeah. So within the mining game, everything, well, we send 80% automatically to the mining game. And then there's this kind of bucket system, which means that the fill rate is higher, which means that the buckets generally are higher. But if there's more people mining, then actually you may well end up getting less. So there's a lot of strategy and balance going on there. It's not quite as straightforward as it might sound.
The pool of
yeah.
Sorry, Michael. The pool of Trillium that gets dispersed, is that evenly between all 6 planets, or is that depending on how many stakers there are? in
Yeah,
each one?
it's pro rata between how much is staked to each planet. So
Okay.
there's I think 3 or 4 kind of equal, and then there's 2 planets who are a little bit behind who don't get so much.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it's all kind of like a race to see how much stake you can attract towards your planet. And yeah, the Cavians guys have been doing very well because they were in there first. But yesterday and today, some little monkeys came along. And they've been doing really well. You know, they've kind of said, well, if you come and mine on our land, we will give out crypto monkey NFTs. And they've made like, I think 3 alien world specific NFTs, and they're really good on the marketing and just like the promotion of it all and everything. And they've kind of they chose this one planet because it was I think it's Neri that they chose, which was it was the lowest staked planet. So they said, right, we're going to take the lowest staked planet and we're going to send it to the moon. And if you look at the graphs, it's like that. So
Yeah.
as they say, it's game on now between the cabal and them and the monkeys.
Yeah.
And then the alien army as well. They're in 3rd place, I think, at the moment. So.
And then there's also the Kinderminders.
Yeah, so they're kind of, I'm not sure if they've chosen a planet yet or if they're kind of free floating amongst the planets. I'm not sure.
And I think there's some wizards out there as well that might
There's some
have
wizards hiding behind in the scenes as
plans.
well.
But unfortunately, I don't get to take part in those plans.
Well, I heard there was some sort of internal politics going on behind the scenes to who was supporting
it seems that you have to support one group or the other. So unfortunately, my allegiances didn't match those. They weren't aligned. Let's say.
Well, allegiances can change. That's the thing about life, isn't it? You know, one day you're a cabal member, next time you're a wizard.
It's very true. It's very true.
So this is what I love about this game. It's very free flowing, and everybody's kind of just picked up on their own, and they're all doing these things. Like the cabal is dropping NFTs, they're giving extra NFTs. Everybody's making little memes and things.
Yeah, how does that happen? How do you? So somebody's staking to a planet, they're mining, and how do you give them the NFTs?
So at the moment, they've just kind of done it off their own back, really. There's a service that Michael from EOS USA has set up where he's basically pulling chain data and he's seeing where people mine, and then he's manually dropping on top of that from off-chain.
Alien Worlds Butler.
Alien Worlds Butler, exactly, yeah. So this is like an additional service which a couple of the guys are using to distribute the NFTs based on how much you stake, where you mine, how often you mine. Lots of different variables are going into it, which is what. So originally we were planning to have this service built in where we could say, look, if you're a landowner, you can kind of throw in these NFTs and then we'll send them out from the smart contract. But Michael just kind of jumped on it and he was like, right, I'm going to make a service and I'm going to charge people, and people are paying wax to do this. So we're kind of almost...
See, the thing is, like, we just want stuff to happen. So, like,
exactly,
when it doesn't happen fast enough, we just, like, make it happen.
And I respect that. I totally think that is the best way to do it. Don't ask us to do something because we're very busy. So just go ahead and do it yourself and, like, ask for forgiveness later, you know. I think that's
exactly.
Right. It's definitely the right attitude to take.
So Michael, sorry, Mike. I forgot. There's both Michaels here. The metaverses that are building out in other ecosystems like Decentraland and Cryptovoxels and Somnium and all of that stuff. Alien Worlds is also considered a metaverse, right? So eventually there could be gameplay like that in the future. Is that something that you would say? What would you say to that?
Well, we are called a metaverse and everybody calls us a metaverse, but we're definitely not like those other games because we don't have this kind of free-flowing 3D environment that you can walk around and, like, I'll meet you over by the beach or whatever. And I don't know, I quite like what we have now. It's more of it's just the economy. Like, I think of it like as a simulated economy, which could then be applied to these other games. So we can kind of inject that into other games like Minecraft, or we were speaking to the Sandbox guys the other day about possibly having something tying up with Sandbox. They're not quite ready yet, but we're going to be speaking to their developers about how we can have it so that you can perform tasks within Sandbox, and then that kind of gets you rewarded within Alien Worlds and things like that. So I would say no at the moment. I don't like it so much. I don't like this walking around for hours like in this 3D space. I like more kind of like strategy and everything like that. But it is so open-ended and people can just go off and do whatever they like. So it's definitely possible that people will kind of bring in the Alien Worlds environment into like Minecraft, for example. It's totally possible, and you can make it a kind of real world.
How so?
The land we have now. Sorry?
How so? Like, how do you do that?
Well, you can replicate the land that we have now within the Minecraft itself. So you can have like a volcano here, and then swampland here, grassy land, and cliffs and mountains and all of those kind of things. So the map could look exactly like our map, and then you can walk around, and then you could even perform the mining actions there, and then you have some sort of API which then links it back to our external systems. We're just kind of at the stage where we're exploring these possibilities. So I'm not entirely sure, but from what we've looked at so far, it is totally possible to make it so that you can kind of augment what we have with the 3D environments that already exist, as long as they have good APIs in and out. And that's what we were talking to Sandbox about. It was to have those APIs that we need to be able to talk in and out of their systems.
So it sounds to me like, if I were to look at this from an outsider, I'd say you guys are definitely using the strength of Wax, which is its ability to facilitate like these free and abundant transactions, and sort of build on that, right?
Yeah, I mean, if we didn't have I'm not going to say free, I'm going to say feeless, I think is the right word. If we didn't have the feeless and fast transactions, it just wouldn't happen. Like Ethereum today has just gone through the roof with costs, and you couldn't have the mining at all. There's no way somebody would do a mining action to earn a small amount of Trillium like they're doing on Wax. So yeah, we definitely want to play up our strengths to each of these chains, and Ethereum has its strengths as well, you know, with the security and you know, the user base and the liquidity is all there. So we want to kind of blend them together as much as we can, and even bring in other different chains as and when useful. So we're kind of thinking about how that would actually look. Like if we were to play the game across multiple chains, how would it look? Like we wouldn't replicate what we have exactly now in another chain, because it doesn't make sense. Like the mining and the fighting wouldn't make sense in another chain, but what would make sense in there, and how can we kind of bring that into the story as well? So we have the planets now, but maybe in the future we have space stations, and the space stations live on another chain, and then there's some sort of communication between the two. But what you do on the space station is very different to what you do on the planet. So on the space station, maybe we have more kind of like DeFi sort of mechanics and gameplay, whereas on the planets we have more of battling and kind of fighting and more kind of fast-paced sort of things going on. So yeah, it's all very very new at the moment, so we're just kind of feeling out what we can do and what's possible. So.
What's next for the economy? Like, if you're able to say anything?
Well, the most important part of the economy is that we get the planets unlocked and in control of their own destinies. That's what everybody's looking forward to, you know. So,
and obviously, I know your background in EOS DAC. Is that going to be forming as using some kind of DAC software or to manage the governance?
Yeah, we're using exactly the same DAC software that we used for EOS DAC, except this time we're creating 6 instead of just 1. So
nice.
The settings will be slightly different. We're going to have 5 elected custodians instead of 12, and 3 out of 5 to pass any kind of proposal. So yeah, so the next stage is that we're going to ask people to come and register. So they're going to come along and they'll fill out their bio and they'll say what kind of why they should be voted for.
So basically, you guys just sat down and you said one day, how can we gamify DAX?
Exactly. That's exactly what we said. We said, right, okay, well, we're on Wax now. We want to do something on Wax. They're kind of like a gaming NFT chain. In fact, it was actually before NFTs really hit Wax. It was before GPK anyway, certainly. So yeah, so we literally sat down and said, how can we kind of make it a bit more accessible to normal people? Because the stack is great, but there's only 12 people, and to get in, like if you're a new person trying to come along, you're not going to get elected day one. You're probably not going to get elected at all. So your ability to kind of interact with DAX is very limited. So with 6 of them now, and a more kind of gamified chain and a different kind of environment, I think we can do a lot of different things. And the cards really, really help. It kind of, people love this visual aid. Like we could have made it without NFTs. NFTs could be done without NFTs. They could just be records in the database. But because
that's
they have
not nearly as fun.
Yeah, they have the visual elements, so people love them and they can see them and they can trade them, and it's just it's a different feeling. So
what sort of decisions do you envision, like the governance of a planet making?
To begin with, well, the only decisions they have to make are what to do with the trillium that comes in. That's essentially what the decision has to be, as to what to do with that extra trillium, because 20% of the trillium that comes in is kind of just resting in the accounts at the moment. Like Kavian has, I think they have over 1 million trillium now. So there's a decent amount of, yeah, it's a decent amount to do something with, and they can say, well, we can just reward it straight back to the stakers, and we can say we'll pay for staking. Or they could say, well, we'll use that to pay people to do work, and they maybe create some exclusive NFTs which they then give out to the stakers. Or I don't know, the sky's the limit really as to what they can do with that money. And then beyond that, they could potentially create their own tokens. They can create their own NFTs. They can do anything they want, anything that any standard Wax account can do, the planet can do, because at the heart, it's just a standard Wax account.
In fact, I think Kavian came up with his own token there, right, Mike?
Each planet has its own token by default within the game. So when you stake, you receive the Kavian token, which is your voting token within that planet. So that's how it works, that you get votes for the planet that you kind of stake to. So that's kind of more of a technical implementation detail, I'd say. But also,
as we heard earlier, like CryptoMonkeys already have their own token, not on Wax, but
yeah, they have the ban token on the banana chain. Yeah.
So maybe the Cabal needs a token too.
Maybe. Who knows? I mean, you don't have to do everything that the CryptoMonkeys do, but yeah, I mean, whether they start to do cross-chain things with it or whatever, it's entirely up to them, and they can add extra software in. And there is, the DAX software can be extended. So there is a way to kind of extend via installing extra smart contracts into the DAX software. So that's a kind of very advanced style thing. They can actually change configuration of the DAC as well. So there are certain configuration parameters that they can update. But to begin with, we envision that they're just going to be spending the money, like transfer it to X or transfer it to Y. And then we'll see. I think as people learn, they'll kind of start to do more and more advanced things, and they'll come to me and ask, like, how can I do this? How can we do that?
Well, I would love to reward stakers to Caveat, and also use some of that Trillium to maybe buy some NFTs so that we can distribute those to stakers as well. And then that would stimulate the economy a little bit.
Definitely.
Also, I've heard that there's TLM specific marketplaces coming. So
I've heard such rumors. Yeah, I hear rumblings on the grapevine that there might
might
be.
know a guy who might be.
I might know a guy who knows a guy. Yeah. So actually, in terms of rewarding stakers directly with Trillium, we've created this system whereby, so when you stake, you send it, let's say 1,000 Trillium, and you receive 1,000 KVN tokens back. So there's kind of like this pool. So it's held in a pool. What we're planning is that you can actually, as the Planet Council, you can send more Trillium to that pool, which then means that the ratio between KVN and Trillium is now off. It's not 1-to-1, it may be 1-to-1.2 or something, which means that anyone who unstakes their KVN will receive more Trillium back than they originally sent.
Interesting.
So this is kind of a way that we're going to make it so that it's very easy for the government to reward stakers, because otherwise it's actually very difficult. You have to look at taking snapshots of stakers at a particular point in time, which isn't straightforward.
Distributions.
Yeah, and then you have to create a distribution list, then a script which will send it all out. It's really not straightforward. It seems quite easy, but in reality, it's not very straightforward. So we've made
a little bit about distributing NFTs to big amounts of lists. So
yeah, I mean, you can have one account in there which is rejecting transfers, and then that can ruin a whole block of transfers. So you then have to go back and kind of find out which account within that blocked the transaction. And yeah, it's just painful. Even for technical people, it's very, very painful. So yeah, we made this simple way for them to do that because.
Cool.
Are you able to like back this economy with anything, with wax or NFTs, or create a liquidity pool, anything like that?
Anything is possible. We may not be able to do everything as the federation, but definitely the planets can do what they like. If they say, right, okay, every KVN token is going to be backed by wax, then that's the way it is. Or if they say that we'll set up a liquidity pool on the wax network, or even on the Ethereum network, it's entirely up to them what they do.
Interesting.
Oh, could we could send Cav to Uniswap then, maybe?
You guys can do what you like.
Interesting.
We're not gonna prevent people from doing anything. Like I wouldn't say there's no rules. Like don't go hacking the smart contracts. Don't attempt to do anything naughty.
Cabal.
Yeah, I mean, don't start spouting racist nonsense or like crazy stuff. But you know, beyond that, you can do what you like. And the worst that's going to happen is we, as the federation, are going to say, okay, no more Trillium for you guys. Actually, you would continue to operate as a planet on your own without that. So I can't see that we would do that, but it's possible eventually if they did some crazy stuff. But really, there's no rules as to what you can do.
Okay. Yeah, I guess the name Federation just sounds like you have a ton of rules, I guess.
It's designed to sound scary because that's how we like to roll. But actually, we're very hands-off kind of people.
Good to know. Cabal's gonna run wild now, right, Mikey?
You got it, buddy. We got free reign.
It's all an experiment, and if you guys screw it up, then okay, we lose a planet, and we probably create a new planet or something, and we start again. It's not the end of the world, and that's kind of why we're building these as games, because we get to learn how DACs work, how DAOs work, and how people interact, and like how we can create these economies of like our own token, and how to distribute that token, and all these kind of things we can learn and play with in this little sandbox before they go out to the real world. where they can really help people.
Oh, so that's actually how you really make money off this, right? Is that you're selling all of the results from what's going on to all these major corporations so that they can learn?
I
Is that
hadn't thought about that, but yeah, that's a good idea. We can use you as little guinea pigs and then give the results and sell them
He's
to
mining data,
corporations.
user
that's what
behavior data.
Robinhood does, right?
I mean,
Hey,
there's going to be a lot of information out there and a lot of learnings about how people interact together. Like already we're seeing weird stuff happening that we never thought really would like happen. Some stuff we predicted definitely would happen, but then other stuff, like one guy has taken land and he's kind of he's tokenized a piece of land into 100 tokens.
Yeah, that's cool. I
That guy,
like that.
yeah, and it's like that's really interesting. Let's see where that goes.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I
there's
brought up a
lots of
screen share, guys. Some of the people are a little confused, including myself, on what all these things mean. It probably means I probably didn't take 5 minutes to look into it. But since I have you guys here, would you guys explain it to me? What do the numbers mean?
So this is what we call a minion, and they'll fight for you in the fighting game, the Thunderdome game, which hasn't been released yet. So actually, these numbers don't have too much meaning
Oh,
behind
okay.
them, just being numbers.
Can you grab a
another
mining
one.
tool for us there?
Is that one there, Mike? Standard
Yeah,
capacitor.
yeah. If you grab the standard capacitor, that's got more meaning at the moment. So Mike, maybe you want to go through them because you kind of know these things, don't you?
Well, so the bottom right-hand one, the little star, is luck, right? And basically, what that contributes to mostly is whether or not you're going to win an NFT or what you're. How would you put that, Michael?
Yeah, I would say it affects whether or not you'll receive an NFT. It's not a direct relationship because there's quite a complex.
When you say an NFT, not Trillium, but something else?
No, so when you mine, you also have this probability of receiving an NFT as well. And this one, obviously, you can see at 0.5, which is very low. So if you just mined with this, you'd have a very low chance of receiving a bonus NFT.
Where does the NFT come from?
Well, we issue them mainly. Mainly they come from the Alien Worlds collection, but we have done special guest appearances, which have been really popular. So we had the Horrors tie-up. I don't know if you saw that one with the bat. That was really popular. So there was a small chance that you would get one of the special Alien Worlds exclusive packs as well.
How does that work, Michael? Like you put the gifted pool in a pool somewhere, NFTs, and then you sort of let that kind of send out randomly?
At the moment, they're issued on demand, so they're minted when they're won. We just have a template and we mint them. They're kind of like packs in the same way that their packs work. Eventually, we want to make it so that people can send already minted NFTs to the contract, and then we'll send them out directly, kind of like a pre-mint pack. Right. And that will allow us to have non-Alien Worlds NFTs sent out. So at the moment, it's only Alien Worlds NFTs, the ones that we have permission to mint, that we can send out. So yeah, but you can receive anything up to mythical. So we send out about 2 mythicals every day. So people are winning decent stuff. It's mostly this stuff, which is an abundant tool. And you see that there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. They really are abundant. So it's kind of quite fun because these ones were never in the packs originally. They come later. They're only winnable through mining.
Okay.
But because they're so abundant, people are kind of a lot more freer as to what they do with them. So again, Michael from EOS USA has come up with a little game where you back them with wax and then you throw them into the volcano. And then he's got some sort of game there where you win a certain amount of the wax that comes out. A lot of people are just giving them away for mining on their land. I think the Cabal gives away quite a lot of these guys. So it's kind of interesting. This is another kind of one of those experiments where we see that people kind of behave differently when they have these NFTs, which are way more abundant than the other stuff. Like they wouldn't act like this with the ones they paid for or the ones that they perceive to be valuable.
What does the other numbers mean?
So the other numbers, if you go to the top left, that's the amount of trillium that you receive. So it's very similar to the luck parameter, except it relates to the trillium that you're likely to receive. So that, in that case, that is actually direct percentage. That's 1% of the pot. Just quite a small amount. Like it can go up to 80% is the most that you can get if you have a good set of tools. And the bottom left one is slightly obscure. It's the proof of work reduction. So when you mine, there's actually a little bit of proof of work that's done on the client side. And that number, the higher the number is, the more it will be reduced. So it will take less CPU on your local machine. For most people, that doesn't really actually make too much difference. But if you're using like an old phone, or if your laptop is a bit slow, then you may want to increase that. That will help out a bit.
Okay.
And then there's the charge time, which is important, right? Because that determines how long it takes before you get to mine again.
Yeah, exactly. So you have to wait a certain amount of time between mining, and that will dictate that. So
it would be click, wait 75 seconds and click again?
Yeah, and if you had two tools like this, then you'd have to wait 150 seconds.
And then that assumes that you're mining on land that doesn't have a multiplier, right? Which I think grassland is the only one that doesn't have a multiplier.
Yeah, I think so.
Means it takes longer?
The land itself has a multiplier on the figures as well. So you add up all your tools and then you multiply it by what land you're on. So there's a lot of strategy between what tools you use and what land you mine on as well. So certain land, some land has like a 4 times multiplier, I think. It goes to 5.
Volcanoes and mountains, I believe, have 4 or 5x.
They have very high multipliers, but then they also multiply the amount of trillium you get as well. So if you're prepared to wait a long time.
Is there a, so let's go to a land one. I want to see a land. Maybe you can explain that one there, Mike. Yeah, explain the land, guys. Like, what kind of land do you want, and what do these numbers mean? Oh, they're the same. Okay, they're the
same numbers.
They're the same, but they're actually multipliers in this case.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so on the land, they're not absolute numbers, they're multipliers. So if you see here the tree forest, the luck multiplier is 1, which means your luck isn't modified at all. You'll get 1.2 times the amount of trillium, but you have to wait 1.3 times as long because you've got a 1.3 multiplier on the charge time.
So that means if it's a 0.5, then it actually halves your luck then?
Yeah, some of the land reduces your luck and your trillium, yeah.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. No.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So all of the land are multipliers. Some of them are like 0.9. I think grassland is a 0.9 on the trillium, so you'll get slightly less, but the charge time multiplier is only 1, so that you can mine much more quickly. So
yeah.
So
if you go high luck, most people who mine grassland or like sandy coastline will go high luck for NFTs, and then with low multiplier so quickly.
They're developing these different strategies. So some people want to mine as much trillium as they can, and other people want to mine as many NFTs as they can. So you can choose your tools and your land combination to make them fit your kind of strategy, whether that's a very fast click, like if you're there all the time and you just want to click quite regularly, or if you just want to do it every 4 hours or so. Some people change their setup overnight so that they kind of, during the day, they're a lot more quick and they're maybe going for NFTs. And then at night, they'll swap it for a much longer charge time so that they've got overnight to charge. And then they'll use an explosive for the trillium to get a lot of trillium in the morning.
Some people forget to mine and then realize that they forgot forever. So then they change their setup to be a super long setup because it's mining.
It's all related to the last time you mined. So if it's been a long time since you last mined, then you've already gone through that charge time. So you can swap to a longer charge time setup.
Okay. Is that kind of like where you were going, Mike, with the strategies? What's
Yeah.
yours? What's yours?
Mine is usually so high luck, short time, and try and get NFTs for the most part. Is that because what I found lately is that there's not a ton of Trillium in the pot anymore, especially as much as there was when we first started mining. So I think we all kind of got a little bit spoiled by that. And so now everyone's trying to get like mythical NFTs and stuff, which are like more of a bigger payoff than the small amounts of TLM. But what I find is that unfortunately I'm so busy that my strategy requires a lot of time and I don't have necessarily. So I tend to switch it up based on what I've done lately and then try and optimize for that. So basically my strategy ends up being like, what do I have time for?
Yeah, which is probably quite common. Yeah, I mean, my strategies are very long. And I try to kind of balance my NFTs and my Trillium as well. So I kind of have very long charge time, but I use explosives and everything. And I'm on mountains at the moment. So yeah, it's just whenever I remember, I'm not very onto it. You'd think I would be playing the game a lot, but actually I'm much more busy building the game now and kind of dealing with
exactly
community and everything. So I don't have a lot of time, so I have a very long period, and then I kind of
Wait, so you haven't automated it yet?
I don't use no, actually I don't, you know. I seriously, before we started, I thought, yeah, I'm gonna own this game. I'm gonna, because I built it, I know exactly how it works, I'm just gonna rule it. But I found that I'm actually much busier now just trying to build it out. And now that we've launched something, everyone's like, well, where's all the rest of it? So, you know, they'll wait forever for the first part, but as soon as they see that taste of it, they now want a lot more. So we're very heads down trying to build the next stages, and we're just shining and everything.
So the next stage is the Thunder Node?
No, the next stage is the registration for the Planet DAOs.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're just going to have people registering for now. We're not going to open up voting because we don't want like the first couple of guys who get in to own the voting, because that's what
Why
happens.
not?
That's not fair. You know, you'll see Mike and Anders up there, and you think, okay, well, there's only 2 people to vote for, so I'll vote for them. And then you'll come back, and then there'll be other people there. So we're going to give people a good few weeks to come in and, you know, think about what they're going to write in their bio, and then put it.
The cabal is true to the name.
Yeah, you got to watch out for the cabal. They're very secretive. Just like, you know, you have to.
We just want to do the best thing for the community. I swear.
So yeah, we're going to give people a few weeks, and then we have to be really careful about how and when we unlock the DAOs, because we don't want DAOs being unlocked with like a couple of thousand Trillium. We need to have a serious amount of voting weight behind it. So we have to kind of think quite hard about how and when we're going to unlock them. So there's no firm plan just yet as to when that will happen, but it's most likely to happen with the most staked and the most votes planets. So yeah, so once we open up the voting will happen, but there will be no automatic unlocking that we had. Do you remember with EOS DAC, we had an automatic unlocking? As soon as we hit, I forget the percentage now. There was I think it was
20%, I think it was.
Was it 20%? Something like that. There was a percentage. And it kind of took us forever to get to that point, but eventually we kind of just bumped up and we hit it. And by that time we were ready, but it doesn't make sense with these DACs because the supply is variable. So we can't do a percentage of supply. So we're going to have to say it's an absolute number, or probably most likely it's going to be that we just hit a button and say, right, that guy's ready, this planet's ready. We'll unlock it now. So yeah, this is going to be the fun step where everybody's, I don't know, doing politicking and campaigning and.
So the unlocking will be centralized, is what you're telling us then.
Pretty much, yeah. I think.
Interesting.
I mean, it always would be. We would just set it in the code. We could set it in the code to be whatever we chose that to be.
Yeah.
And that's probably what will happen. We'll set it in the code, but we'll just update it as we go along. And maybe we'll set it to 3 million, if that sounds reasonable. But then we have to be aware that maybe the supply of Trillium might increase at some point. So we've got to.
Well, I noticed an account on the Wax blockchain, sales.world or something like that, with quite a large amount of Trillium in it.
Oh, the Federation has tons and tons of Trillium. Yeah, we're planning a public sale at some point this year, definitely. We don't have a firm date on that because it's quite complex and there's quite a lot of options as to how and when we do that. But it will happen at some point, and at that point, there's going to be an awful lot more Trillium, which is kind of released onto the market. So we probably are going to have to. Well, we're definitely going to have to think about what happens during that stage, and there's a good chance that we'll pause re-elections during that stage, so that the Trillium can come in, and then everything else can kind of balance itself out, and then we'll go on again. So. We're going to try to get people elected quite soon because that's what they all want. But then we do have to be a little bit careful. We don't want the planets floating off by themselves and kind of getting into a strange state. Not that we've really, we've never really kind of iterated through what those states are and what they would be, but we're just taking a pragmatic approach to it to make sure that nothing weird happens during those times.
So is the token sale going to be on Wax or?
Well, this is all the decisions we have to make. There's a good chance we will have a dual sale. Well, some of it will be on Ethereum, some of it will be on Wax. There's many options that we're looking through at the moment, and we're speaking to a lot of people daily about how and when and where and what price, and it's just a lot. It's not just a case of right, let's start the sale today.
Let's sell some tokens.
Yeah, let's just stick them on a contract and sell them. It's not as easy as it is with the packs. So we have to. Unfortunately, the US citizens are almost certainly not going to be part of it because you guys, you're in the land of the free, so you can't have everything, right? So yeah, unfortunately, oh no, you're Canada, aren't you, Mike?
Yeah, I'm actually in Costa Rica now.
Oh, okay, nice. I thought it was quite sunny for Canada.
Yeah, it's beautiful here.
Nice. So you would be included in the sale.
Yeah.
So yeah, so a lot of choices to make and things to do before we do that, but it's definitely where we're heading to.
Cool. All right. So it sounds to me like planet voting is the next thing coming. Maybe Thunderdome after that.
Yeah.
And you mentioned some other mechanism there. Can't remember what it was.
It'll be shining for
that's it.
Minions and for weapons, right?
Yeah. For the other stuff, we'll have that at some point as well. Right?
Last thing you guys could do, explain shining to me. It's just like an upgrade thing.
Yeah, it's very similar to all the other upgrades that you've seen, where you swap 4 cards for a higher card. Except we don't go through the rarities. We actually have this shine level, which means that the card, if it's let's say it's a rare card, it will always be a rare card. It won't change to an epic version, but it will gain these extra attributes and it becomes gold, and then it becomes stardust, and then it becomes antimatter, which is the highest level that you can shine to.
Okay.
And at each level, we add some Trillium into the mix as well. So Trillium gets burned when you shine. And I think we've done about 2.6 million worth of Trillium burned already. So nice. We have this goal of burning a lot of Trillium.
Right.
We have these targets of how much Trillium we're going to burn versus how much is generated every day. and it's very high. Like we want to burn an awful lot through the game mechanics, and Shining was just the first stage of that. So,
can you comment on any other stages of that, or
of burning,
yeah?
yeah, we've actually put out posts about what is going to be burned. We put out a lot of posts and nobody reads them. There's a lot of information. Like almost everything that we know about the game is actually in Medium posts. There's not too much hidden. So burning, there's a lot of the land upgrades. All the land upgrades, when you pay for land upgrades, that will be burned. During the Thunderdome, I think there will be a certain amount of burning of the fees for the entrance. And then also in the Thunderdome, your minions can be injured and your weapons can be damaged. So there's hospitals and weapon factories which will accept Trillium to resuscitate and fix your weapons. So there will be some burning there as well. I forget the other ones, but yeah, we're definitely introducing a lot of tokenomics into the game itself.
So basically, anytime you like pay for a service or do some kind of upgrade in the game, you guys are going to burn some TLM.
Yeah, we're looking at like most of the Trillium that the Federation receives itself is going to be burned. We're not saying all of it yet because we're not too sure. There may be some cases where we need to keep it for other reasons, but generally speaking, we're looking to burn anything which we receive for any in-game kind of activities. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, this has been incredibly helpful for me. Like you said, it's probably already in all these Medium posts, but just hearing it verbally, and I think the audience would be appreciative of that as well too. Thanks, guys. Is there anything else that we should know, Michael, about what's coming up, or any kind of hint or strategy you want to give us to leave us with?
The strategies are all your own. Basically, I love it when people do these things that we're not expecting, and they kind of make it the game their own. And you know, the AW Butler service where he's making money within our economy is great. I think all these things, like, people need to, yeah, they just kind of need to step back from the game and think, what can I do, rather than what is the game allowing me to do? Because we want you to do anything you want, and if you see that there's an opportunity there, then you should take it. And those are the people who are gonna win in the game. I think the entrepreneurs, the people who can attract a community, are the two main groups of people who are going to really succeed well at this game. It's not a game for somebody on their own. You need to be able to have ideas which you can convey to other people. So if you want to run for election, you need to be able to convey what your vision is for that particular planet is. And if you want to make money, you're going to have to spot these opportunities that come up within the game. So, you know, there's a lot of abundant items. So maybe that's an opportunity there somewhere for somebody to do something with them. So, I mean, our planet, for example, you can kind of see our planet as an extension of the game itself. And they've said, well, right, well, you can come and stake those things. So everybody's earning these abundant things and they're staking them in our planet and they're getting the tokens in our planet. And then
people are buying them just to stake to our planet.
Exactly,
too, right?
yeah. So it's kind of really interesting to see how external games can kind of meld with the game as well. And there's definitely those opportunities there for a lot of people. So yeah, I would say just be free thinking and just have your own ideas and kind of try to, it's kind of like the real world, you know? We're not going to hold your hand and show you how to play the game, especially after the planets are unlocked and they start bringing in their own games. It's gonna, we're going to kind of step back and back as the Federation, and we're going to have less to do with the game. We will set the basic economy, but then after that, it's kind of down to people to have their own imaginations. So yeah, get the imaginations going, I think is the key.
Yeah, well, thanks for putting together this awesome system for people like Big Mike to spend his time on, and myself as well too. I'll be getting into it.
I'm hoping to see you there quite soon. I don't know what you're going to do, but you are definitely one of the people. You've got a community. You have people. You have this voice piece that you can use. So definitely.
NFT hype land coming soon.
Well,
Exactly.
I have bought a few things on Naron, but it's a lower planet, so I have to think
It's a lower
about that.
planet. But Neri was the lowest planet less than
Yeah.
a week ago. Literally a week ago, it was the lowest planet, and now it's, I think today it became the highest planet. And then the Cabal just messing about.
Uh-oh.
Paul, it's time to come back with something. They're not going to
For
take that
yeah,
lane
right.
For a
down.
few seconds, it was #1 planet for a few seconds, and then I saw that the Cabal just.
The thing about the name Cabal, it just has to live up to it now, right?
It does.
You
It
got
does.
it. You
Well,
probably gave JR his land distribution.
They have some big token holders and land holders there.
Yeah, we certainly do.
well, shout out to the Cabal and everyone else in
Always
Shout out
be
to the
nice to the
Federation.
Cabal.
and of course the Federation, who we need to all stay in the good books of, or else they'll
Always be
delete the
nice to
planet.
everyone. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Please don't delete the planets.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it was awesome. It was super fun to talk to you, Michael, as always. Thanks for joining us,
Yeah.
and we hope to talk to you again soon.
Definitely, we'll keep in touch.
Yeah. Peace out.
Cheers.